morning, viewers. Welcome to another exciting episode of Safe Distance and Save Lives. That's right. This is your hostess, Malika Sotinathan. Today, I'm bringing you another very important guest. She's all the way in London. That's right. She's in London. So today, I'm taking you to London. Sitting at home, you're going to London. Imagine. We want to know more about Lata Gulapalli, a financial consultant who is coming out with important information, who's advising all her friends and family during these tough times. She's strong as an iron. She's going to share with us her personal story, what she's doing at work, and how she's handling all these community questions that are coming up today. Without further ado, let us welcome Lata Gulapalli to Save Distance and Save Lives. Welcome, Lata.
Hi, Malika. Lovely to see you and lovely to be here. Thanks so much for the introduction. Let's start with possibly what happened at the beginning. It was total panic in London and everybody didn't know what was happening. The schools were still open, everyone was running around and everyone was trying to get their hands on toilet paper for some reason. But everyone was actually very afraid as well. You could just sense the fear in the air. And attendance at schools dropped, but they still didn't close them. So it was a very, very odd and very fearful time. And then we were just trying to get ourselves organized. It was just before Easter break. We went into lockdown and all I could think of is, okay, let me get some food provisions going. Let me settle the kids. They're just going to holidays. So all that happened. And then I found that I was sick. So a few days I was like, okay, maybe it's just all this running around and all this tension, which we always have because we're always running around. But then I found it was actually all these symptoms and I went on the 111 app and contacted the doctor and it turns out, yes, I was down with COVID-19. All the things like body ache and fever, chills, headaches, diarrhea, everything you name it. The throat was so sore, I could barely breathe. I couldn't speak at all. I couldn't eat much. And I was down. I mean, I was like, how am I going to isolate myself with 3 young children? And we are just going to lockdown, so nobody still knows. There was really no information even on the World Wide Web because it was still beginning in Europe or anywhere, America. Nobody had any idea or nobody had any information to share from that point of view. And if you contacted the doctor, he's like, oh, you know what, you have it and just keep taking paracetamol whenever you need it. Doctor friends were doing the same thing. Even they were not going to hospitals. So I was like terrified that if someday I can't breathe, what am I going to do? And I did the mad thing. I said, okay, I'm just going to stay home, stay put. So 12, 14 days went in that. And then I started to feel slightly better. It's not like I was horrible all the 12, 14 days. Like some days were awful. And some days were like, okay, I'm starting to feel good. So I thought, okay, maybe I have the shorter version. And then you find like, zoop, it goes down again. So after like definitely 14 days, I was like, okay, this is done. So I start to feel slightly okay. I don't have all the symptoms. I have a few which come and go even now. And they tell us it's normal and it's all like part of the recovery. So now we're done with the recovery.
I got all the points. And you also shared about your experience as a patient and how you felt like you didn't know because there was not much information out there. So great for sharing all that. And that gives me a better insight in your personal life and in your what you went through as a patient. So I will go back to that portion.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us are not realizing that part where that we are carriers. We are carriers.
You could be. It's not that you are, but if you are by chance and you don't know it, that is the responsibility, isn't it?
And that is, I think, a very important fact because when it comes to interacting with other people and the whole concept of distance and lockdown, right?
Yeah.
Why we are in that kind of makes sense. So please tell us about your when you had the so you got to know what kind of testing happened you knew COVID, and then you had to go back. If you could just say a little bit more about that, and the hospitals, how are the hospitals handling the COVID situation in London?
Sure. The testing is like either you individually you can get a test and you get a positive or a negative. It's just like basic test. There is no back follow-up test, or there's no test. Even in fact, we have many doctor friends who haven't had tests. So they have they have stayed home for a week, 2 weeks sometimes, and just gone back to work. So testing still has to catch up. Now they have increased the tests for medical workers. They have increased, but still we find, even friends who are doctors, they don't have PPE. So they're like, how am I going to open a surgery? And how am I going to go to hospital and feel safe? We had a whole week before the lockdown, week or plus, where all Financial Times, every newspaper, the Times, would have these long interviews with the Prime Minister saying that, oh, you know what, we are looking for herd immunity, or we are looking for, we are going to say goodbye to our loved ones because they're over 70 or something. I had my parents living here at that time. I mean, they were visiting for a couple of months. I'm like, if they're going to not look at people over 70, these guys are in their 80s. So I'm like, everybody was telling me, don't send them on a flight, and we don't know. But I said, they have to leave here, because if by chance they catch a cold even, I'm not having any doctor I can access. If they go back to India, at least they can demand to see a doctor, at least. Heaven knows what happens after, but at least they have that approach, they can at least go to a doctor and ask them to test them or something like that. Here, there was no chance of that. So I got them on a flight. 18th, India was locking down. 17th, they were on a flight back. And I was watching them. I mean, I was constantly speaking to them for 2-3 weeks even, to see that, my goodness, do they have a cold? Do they have a fever? Do they have body ache? Do they have any symptoms? Because I went into symptoms very quickly after that. And I didn't want to tell them. I just kept asking how they are. I told them after like a couple of weeks or so, because they would have been hysterical. How the hell do you get it? And people say, oh, you have to care for others. That is also a mindset. Caring for others, being disciplined, being careful, being 100% in what you do. It's all a mindset, I think. And that comes very early. You have to probably teach your children that, if you have them. Or you have to learn it very young yourself. It cannot be sort of picked up as a skill doing an MBA, for instance. Nobody can teach you to do that kind of caring or be that kind of disciplined person. So socially and socially in your human part of your life, apart from your work, all these aspects have to be very strongly there to deal with this kind. Because these are life skills. I'm telling my kids, tomorrow you have a crisis created by somebody which is not in your control. What are you going to do? You're going to bawl and say, oh, I didn't make it? Or you're going to say, okay, what can I do? How can I get ahead? What can I change? Like they're doing online schooling, for instance, now. And initially they were like, how on earth can I do online school? But then you try to talk to them, you say, see, isn't it nice? In university you have one-on-one lessons. So if you're one-on-one with your teacher or professor, you can go much at a different pace. You can explore aspects which other children may be interested, may not be interested. But you can just do it because you're doing one-on-one. And that's exactly like online learning. So you just do your lesson and then you're free to do other things, right? So you do explore other things with your time, watch documentaries, or Royal Institution has sessions, you go there and, do all those kind of things. So then they come around and say, yes, this is much better way of organizing my life. And by afternoon, they're free. So they're like, okay, we go and play, or we do our workout, or we do even fencing. They are all fencers. I'm like, how the hell are we going to do online lessons? So I'm like, why don't you try? So now they do their lessons very well, because they find you can actually change to adapt yourself. And people say this is the new normal. It's not normal. Normal is change. Process of change is life, and that is normal. So as long as you continue changing, you will not be stuck where you are, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that is the concept of normal. There's no new normal and old normal, and there's no pause in nature or anything like that. Nature is flowing, but we have to work with nature, adapt ourselves, and live our lives. I mean, we are beautiful people. We are amazing. We make ourselves so good. With so much effort, we make ourselves. And show the world that, I think. That's what we need to do.
So how did the political, just last a little bit, because you're not non-political person, so I can ask you this question. So tell me something about how the because I see a lot of in COVID, a lot of political turmoil is happening. Every country is going through that. So London, what is going on? Like, are the politicians all aligned with all the stuff that they're doing, or there seems to be different opinions about lockdown being open and lockdown being there?
Lockdown being open, there is no two opinions. I think the conservatives, which is the government, is very sure they want to open it because they see, I think, people on the streets. We already have traffic jams back to where they were before. And I think yesterday, I think I just went to the market and it was pretty much traffic I had on an afternoon. So if people are already out, I think the government might think it might as well open offices or open stuff. But there is no way, whether adults or young people or anything, there's no way people can go to work if the children are not taken care of, because the children will have to be at home. And you don't want the children with the grandparents because we've gone and isolated the grandparents already and put them wherever far away. So the government has got to deal with that for sure. The opposition is not sure you want to open. In fact, today the unions for the teachers said we should never open the schools unless they have safeguards, because it's not safe for the teachers nor for the children. So having schools open doesn't make sense. They have to wait for the summer, and maybe by the end of summer there will be some direction as to whether vaccine is coming or cure. And most of the focus has been on the vaccine, nothing on a cure. So there is very little progress being made. They have had one drug which they are trying, which are already in trials here, Remdesivir or something, and that's quite. I think that drug is from America, but nothing other than that. No news. So we are still like just doing paracetamol and odd home remedies, which I think thousands of home remedies everybody has. So.
Thank you so much for an exciting and so informative and such a beautiful
Thank you for letting me talk.
No, this is really nice, and it'll be very helpful for many people who are in their homes and they are not going through those things. And I know we are all going through all kinds of moments. So thank you for sharing all your experience. It was wonderful meeting you. Please keep in touch. And,
yes.
And thank you.
Yeah.